Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan site that'll have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. We're going to be looking at The Uncanny X-Men 204 from 1985. They still have Cyclops in the cover box, but as we know, he has left for X Factor. And by the way, this is a a Nightcrawler solo story, which we have never had in X-Men. So there was a Nightcrawler limited series, but I didn't cover it. It was done by Dave Cockrum, and there'll be a small reference here. And the cover, June Brigman, but Terry Austin also inking this cover. And so Stanley presents What Happened to Nightcrawler, starring Nightcrawler of the Uncanny X-Men. And he's sitting outside in this rain storm going out here. And we got our credits: Chris Claremont, writer; June Brigman, guest penciler; Whilce Portacio is who started, who was an inker. And so Tom Rozakowski, who deserves an award for putting so many words in for Chris Claremont, and Nocenti and Jim Shooter continue the editorial. And in this panel, we just get New York City. Normally, Chris Claremont does an elaborate thing, but not here. He's letting the panel kind of talk for itself. But don't worry, there's going to be plenty of words inside. So normally what I do is I read some and I narrate some. Otherwise, these X-Men videos would take me an hour each. So his girlfriend, Amanda Sefton, looks at him and goes, "Kurt." And then she thinks here, he never came to bed. He has been out on that balcony all night. And so he sees her and goes, "Amanda, is it morning already? How time flies when you're having fun," he thinks. And so he teleports inside. "It wouldn't do at all to drip on my lady love's carpet." So he teleports himself right into the bathroom, and then he shakes off the water off. So he says, "Good morning," and he says, "How are we this fine, beautiful day?" And she tells him, "I have to work overseas." She is a stewardess, or what are they called now? They're probably not called stewards and stewardess. They're flight attendants. And so she's gonna be gone a week, but she'll cancel if she stay. And he pours himself a drink. He says, "Not necessary." And she says, "Isn't it a little too early for that?" And Nightcrawler says, "For you, perhaps. For me, it's just what the doctor ordered." And you can see that they're a little bit not on good terms here. The X-Men telephone. They'll be home soon from San Francisco. And he says, "So?" And she says, "They were worried about you, Nightcrawler. They're glad you're okay." And he's having a rough time, and we'll find out why in just a moment. And he says, "Bully for them. You know, Amanda, lately I find myself thinking more and more of the pan-dimensional adventure I had last year, which was the Nightcrawler miniseries, which I did not cover. So don't worry." So if you go, "Well, he didn't cover that," don't worry, I didn't. And it was written and drawn by Dave Cockrum. So, anyway, he continues narrating kind of the stuff that he did in there, swashbuckling and all that kind of stuff. And he says, "Why can't life be like that?" as he grabs her. And she kind of turns away and goes, "Not in the mood." "Ah, neither am I." Then Amanda, "So long ago it seemed like ancient history." And then we are drawn down here. "Being an X-Men was fun. We were mutants, outcasts from human society because of the powers we were born with." Always gotta put that in there. "But our hearts were light. Now everything is grim. The joy, the romance, the innocence, all gone." And she says, "Why, Kurt? What changed?" And he kind of teleports and says, "You wouldn't understand." And he's back outside. And she's like, "How can I? If you won't talk to me, Nightcrawler, I love you. Please, I beg you, let me help." And so here's what his problem is. "Thanks to the Beyonder, all things that had meaning for me, that gave me existence, purpose, are TODT, dead, destroyed. I don't know who I am anymore, or even why I am. There, my darling, now you know. Help me with that." So this is part of Chris Claremont using the Secret Wars 2 crossover to He did it with the New Mutants, and now he's doing it here with Nightcrawler. So he used that Secret Wars 2 crossover to uh, get more introspective on some of these characters. And so Amanda says, Kurt, you and the X-Men have encountered beings of incredible power before. What made the Beyonder so different? And Nightcrawler says, what makes the sun different from a match flame? Oh, I could tell you that. I asked myself, was this God or Satan incarnate, or worse of all, neither? That was only part of it, though. What truly hurts is that when he summoned the X-Men to do battle with him, he left me behind. That was last issue. For some reason, perhaps because I was not worthy, I was spared. I was to be spared, and I was glad. I should have followed, but I didn't. I was afraid. I never was before, but this time she says, Kurt. And so he sits here, kind of looking on. I don't know what's real anymore. Um, when a potion or a power or being can change my mind, my body, even the concept of reality itself. You're a sorcerer, Amanda. Do I truly love you, or do you use some spell to make me? And so, of course, she's gonna get really pissed at that comment. If you have to ask yourself, you needn't worry about loving me or anybody. And she slams the door, and then he feels like a total jerk. He's like, "Why did I say that? What a fool! Was it that I wished to test Amanda's feelings by hurting her as much as myself feel hurt? Could I be so selfish, so cruel? Should I still go after her? There's still time. I can teleport to the street or race down the wall of the building." But he doesn't do it. He just howls. And so she gets to the cab. It says Kennedy Airport. And this guy makes a comment on the jogger. Jogger's going to be important. So they are leaving. And so she goes, you got what you wanted, my love, to be alone. I hope it was worth the price. And so we see the jogger here. Here she hears the howl. And she's like, wolves in Manhattan? Terrific. Now, you see this garbage truck behind her. And if you remember anything about garbage trucks in the X-Men, and you realize this, a saflang, you know what's up. So he hears it, and he's like, it can't be. So he teleports over there and sees the garbage truck. So he knows what's up immediately. Nice here. And so he, of course, knows this has to be Arcade. So he's going to follow it, and it's teleporting. And, of course, I'm narrating now because there's a lot of thoughts that, and I told you, Chris Claremont puts words and words and words and words. He remembers this garbage is a way inside, so he is going to go in there. And he's doubting himself. He's like, am I a coward? No, I'm a hero, and I mean to prove it. So he's going to try to bypass the alarm so he can get in without getting caught. And so he thinks he did it, so off he goes. And then he hears this thing and hopes he's able to save the day here. And of course, this girl here is like, she's the reason Arcade, or she's what Arcade was getting for. And he says, welcome to Murder World, sweetheart. I'm Arcade. I hope you enjoy these last few minutes of your life. And she's like, this can't be real. I must be dreaming. And so he says, the rules are simple. Find the exit and you're free. Too bad for you. That's a lot easier said than done. And she says, why are you doing this? And he says, for the money, babe, and the fun. So someone paid to get this girl killed. And of course, he can't just kill people. He has to put him through this murder world because, hey, it is a comic book. So just for the sake of those of you who may have not heard any of my other videos that have featured Arcade, I despise this character, and I think it's the worst character Chris Claremont has ever invented. But we go through. So I power through these Arcade stories out there. So if you like him, hate, that is okay. You're more than welcome to like him, but I just cannot stand this character. So, all right. And so the girl's like, there has to be some mistake. I'm a college student. I'm a nobody. And Arcade's like, breaks my heart, kid, but someone somewhere wants you dead, and they're paying yours truly big bucks to do the job. And she's like, you can't do this. And Miss Locke says, a murder world is ready. And so off she goes in the pinball, kind of similar to the way the X-Men were sent in there. And so you can see Arcade doesn't think much of this game and thinks she's gonna be an easy target. So down she goes. Here's the noise. You see this. You see the blam. So a bullet hit that tree instead of her, and of course, she's being hunted. This is of course all constructs, and so everything here, nothing in there is real, and so she's running, but of course she doesn't know that, and all this stuff here is sort of like the danger room. So it's illusions and robotics. It's like Disney World. And so this guy's gonna try and kill her, but misses. And so she goes underneath the horse here. She's athletic, so she goes through, and you can see that they didn't fall through, so it's like holographic. I think it's what's going on here. And so she hits the water. Down they go, and so she's running away. Again, I am just narrating because I'm just trying to get through this issue. Here, I love the screen tones being applied by Whilce Portacio. And so here comes Jaws, but Nightcrawler grabs her and they go, and the poor thing did not get to eat her. But of course, Arcade is happy. He's like, what? A new player, Nightcrawler. And so he's like, great. The game is now much more interesting. And so Nightcrawler introduces herself, but she says, get away from me, because she doesn't know if he's real or not, because she's been in a murder world here. So, and here she tells him you could be one of them. And so, Nightcrawler basically does this Terminator thing. Come with me if you want to live. And so, she does. And now we've got like a Mad Max thing here. And so, off they go here. I just don't feel that all this needs to be read. I mean, certainly to enjoy it more, but this is a YouTube channel, so I just kind of hit and pick and choose what to read. But I'm a huge fan of the Chris Claremont run here, and so now you see these airplanes. So I have several playlists, by the way. Particularly the one that I always tell people to, although I have an X-Men playlist where I put these. There's also an X Universe playlist where I do the entire Chris Claremont-ish era of the X books. So we've got in there the New Mutants as well all the limited series that Claremont has done. But I'm also gonna do X Factor, even though it's Louise Simonson. X Factor is part pretty close to the what's going to be happening to the X-Men, so that will also be there. And I do everything in reading order, so it's all done so that you can go in there and just go by the era or how it's supposed to be done. So feel free to check that one out. Otherwise, I got a bunch of different ones in there. And so here goes Nightcrawler. He gets a nice little plan. And is this Arcade? And so, yep. And so Nightcrawler uses this one to land on that um, thing. And so it says, be seeing you, Fraulein. It's been real. And she's like, Nightcrawler, how could you run on me? And I just begun to believe, to hope, but maybe that's what a K wanted. Maybe you worked for him all along, and I never even told you my name. And so we're led to believe that Nightcrawler has abandoned her. And of course, Arcade laughs. Poor little darling, deserted by her knight in shining armor. Her heart must be broke all to bits. And so, let's see here. So we're like in Tokyo thing in here. And look at that, the heads are still attached. Oh, yeah. I like my meat anonymous here. And so sees like an image of herself in there. And of course, these robots are about to kill her as well. But Nightcrawler was there. And Nightcrawler's like, "Oh, ye little faith, did you think I'd abandon you?" And so he gets in there. And so turns out that this wasn't Miss Locke, it was Arcade. Or no, it's not Arcade. That was a holographic thing here. And gives him a kiss. He says, "Love to chat, but we have to run." And so, you're crazy, mister. How is making Arcade mad at us going to do any good? And of course, Arcade is like, "You got that right, Toots. X-Men, as of right now, your history." And so, we've got the Colossus robot and the Wolverine robot and the Storm robot and the Rogue robot. And so, looks like Nightcrawler reprogrammed all these things in there. So he thought it really was the X Men, but of course he realizes that it is not. So and so we get to the last page, and it turns out that she's a princess, and somebody hired them to kill her so that she wouldn't take the throne. And when she goes into the apartment, these guys are in there, and they she says, "Judith, last of the Ellsbergs, Queen of Britannia." And then next, Wounded Wolf by Chris Claremont and Barry Windsor Smith. There, I don't believe they ever expand on this story. And one of the things is that she was meant to be Nightcrawler's new love interest, but Claremont never did anything with it. So it's sort of a one and done. So it wasn't too bad. It probably would have been more interesting if it wasn't for Arcade. So, but I'm looking forward to X-Men 205 because that'll be really cool. I love that story. So, all right, Uncanny X-Men 204 by Chris Claremont, June Brigman, and Whilce Portacio. Like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.